Okay, good evening, everyone. We are here this evening to hold a public hearing that has to do with the accommodation fee. It is that magical time of the year where we like to get together and talk about this. At some point, someday, some year, we'll have it all figured out and we'll move forward, but I think we're close to that. So the purpose of this meeting, of course, is anyone who would like to speak either in favor or against the accommodation fee. This is probably a pretty good time to do it. I noticed that Councillor Gibb is sitting on the wrong side of the fence.
Before we go any further, I guess I have to declare conflict.
Yeah.
I'm also the Director of Operations at Scanlan, so I'm here representing the Scanlan, not as Councillor Gibb.
All right, that's good and fair. So if there's any presentation that would like to be made, now's the time to do it.
This is where I go.
Perfect.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I swear.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
Okay, so we got the new bylaw that you folks have proposed, and we had a look at it, and we went through it, pretty closely. And I think most of you should have my letter that details most of my concerns. Our concern, I'll just tell you. So our position has never changed, right? Right from the outset of this whole ordeal. Our position has been that this money should be used for the betterment of the entire community. We felt strongly, right from way back when, that this money, technically the town of the Pod does absolutely nothing to receive it. You don't provide a single service, you don't provide a single dollar, it doesn't cost you anything. The hotels collect it based on our occupancy and we send you a check. So it's free money. It might be the only free money you get. So our feeling is that it should be used not to benefit the hoteliers, but to benefit the community. And by the community benefiting, we benefit as well, as do all of you. On the number side of things, when we looked at the budgets over 5 years, and we didn't pick 5 years for any other reason, that it's easier to stabilize an income stream over 5 years than to try to do it every year and account for minimal nuances. And so over the 5 years, the town of the Paw spending has gone up significantly, as you all know. I think the budgets are up 20% or 25%, whatever that might be. Inflation is only averaging a couple percent a year. So you're outstripping inflation in what you're spending. All right, so it would mean that, well, the infrastructure is getting old and you need more money, so let's get some extra money and let's fix the infrastructure. But the money from the hotel tax now, it looks like you're directing it towards repairing the infrastructure, when in our opinion, you've probably already got enough money, or you should have enough money. I think last year you underspent by $700,000, give or take, which went into your nominal surplus. So that was money that you promised to spend that you didn't get a chance to spend, but you still got the money, so it's sitting in an account somewhere. And I can go on like that, on the money side of things. The money aside, I had a fairly lengthy discussion with some representatives from minor hockey this week, because it's kind of timely. You guys have all lived here a long time. I don't remember what you had for kids and what they participated in and that kind of thing. But minor hockey right now has 160 kids enrolled in minor hockey. I know 5 years ago there was about 240 kids enrolled in minor hockey, and I know when our kids played hockey there was in the 300 kid neighborhood. There's a problem. You talk to the people who are involved in it today, and one of the biggest problems is the cost. It's very expensive. The economy locally is hanging in there. It's not really strong. It's not really faltering. There hasn't been any good news lately. But if we focused on, say, minor hockey as an example, you receive approximately $200,000 a year from the accommodation fees, approximately. It costs $475 a year to register your kid for minor hockey. There's only 160 kids in minor hockey. You may fix the arena, you may fix the infrastructure, but if that trend continues for another 5 years, you may only have 120 kids in minor hockey. Then you're going to be sitting here as a decision-making organization saying, well, it's going to cost us $600,000 or $700,000 or $800,000 to keep the rink open, and we only got 120 kids in it. Does this make any sense? And at that point in time, the discussions are going to get even more unpleasant because the discussions will be centered around, we need an extra $1 million for a water treatment plant or for a garbage dump, and we're going to have to close the rink because we don't have enough kids doing it, and it doesn't make any sense to spend the money on it. If we don't turn this around now, we're going to be in some serious trouble as a community. In the event, let's go to worst case scenario, in the event that 5 years from now the rink closed because there's just not enough people using it to support it, we will lose families in this community. We will lose them. You can be absolutely sure of that. The golf course, as we all know, is having a hard time staying open. It's struggling as well. You know, they're having the same issues. So in the event that you say you lose the golf course and you lose the rink, well, now you're going to be having we are going to be having some serious troubles maintaining this community as any sort of an attraction. And I think that the money that you're collecting from the destination marketing fee would be better served supporting a group. Like, I'm not saying you have to support minor hockey, but what if you said one year it's $475? If there's 150 kids, that's $60,000. We're paying it all. It's coming out of the accommodation fee this year. Free money, start to turn around the participation. The town has access to money through the hydro program, the $230,000 a year. You know, we've got $4 million in the bank. I get that it's all earmarked. Taxes are a big discussion right now. And I think this money would be better served by supporting the participants as opposed to sticking it into repairs and maintenance.
Okay. I'm fairly certain I don't disagree with very much of what you said. I'm sure I don't.
Okay, well, there you
I'm
go.
sure I don't. But I'm going to let council have comments or suggestions or questions if they like, and start with you, Chad.
Sure. Thanks, Herb. I appreciate that. And I agree. Same thing with Jim. I agree with a lot of the things that you're saying. We've looked at this from a lot of different angles, and I guess we felt that if we're throwing it into recreational infrastructure, it's not only, it's helping the community as a whole, because then we can fix up these places as they sit. And I get where you're coming from on helping the participants, but it's almost like you're helping a select few. And what seems to be the trend in town right now is a lot of barrier-free recreation type stuff. And I'm sorry, but minor hockey is, it's like you said, 160 kids. That's a pretty select few, 160 kids, when there's 1,500 to 2,000 kids or whatever the number, having more than that probably, or that's a pretty small number to jump on. Maybe that's something that could come in under the grant program, where we do a sports thing where people that can't afford to play sports can apply for it and stuff like that. But I don't know. I get where you're coming from, and it makes a lot of sense. I'm just not sure the proper way of implementing it.
Councillor Rock.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, do you have any suggestions for council as to the kinds of things that we could be doing or haven't looked at? Or
Well, the danger, Brian, is that, so we fixed the rink, right? And I get it. Things need to be maintained. They need to be maintained. I understand that. But the issue becomes affordability. So we have a very nice rink that's extremely well maintained, and we have nobody who can afford to use it. Well, what's the point? And I agree with the barrier-free recreation. I agree with that, right? That it should be as affordable as possible. It comes down to quality of life issues. And I'm just using minor hockey right now because it's winter, right?
Yeah.
We can talk about softball, we can talk about the football league that doesn't exist. We can talk about helping the golf club, the golf course, because if you're retired in this community, there's not a lot of stuff for you to do. Golf is a very important activity for some of our retirees. When the retirees leave, not only do they leave, but they take their checkbook. And you've lost that entire economic benefit of having that retiree in the community. So it isn't that it's just a question of helping minor hockey, it's a question of trying to use this money to help them all some way. And by fixing the infrastructure with the destination marketing money, to me it's kind of redundant because you're already collecting that money in taxes. And you're already having difficulty spending the money you collect in taxes because your nominal surplus was so high last year. And I understand the whole budgeting thing is changing and you're trying to start earlier, but the fact is you didn't spend all the money you promised you were going to spend. So instead of, I'm not sure what you're going to do with it, well, why not direct that towards the maintenance issues? Be it the arena, be it the streets, be it whatever, right? But it's a question of affordability and access.
Mm-hmm. So do we have to make these improvements and promotions before we can expect outsiders coming and using these facilities more and thereby seeing benefit because of the accommodation tax?
I don't think so, Brian. Like, I'm not 100% certain, right? But I haven't heard anybody who's stayed at the hotel who's participated in anything either at the school division or at the arena, be it hockey. I haven't heard anyone complain about the quality of the facilities, while they're staying at the hotel. No one has mentioned that to me, that, my goodness, if you did this, we'd get more people. There was something very recently, was it a basketball tournament, or there was something very recently the schools just did, and it was very well attended and all the reviews were very good. But I'm sorry, I forget which event it was, but it was just a matter of a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so no, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Margaret?
Well, there's a few points that I'd like to bring up. You're bringing in, you mentioned the golf course. Is that not, I'm going to say, a private club?
It's a member-owned club.
A member-owned club?
It's a member-owned
Public.
club,
Okay.
but
It's a
anybody...
public golf course, though.
It's a public
Okay.
golf course,
So
yeah.
you have that, and they have many ways to raise money, and I realize things are tight. And with hockey, too. I had a kid in hockey. But on the flip side, these clubs do have another way to raise money, because I did lots of it. So, and you say, well, did we have some money in the bank and we didn't spend it? But just because there's money in the bank doesn't mean we have to spend it all. There's
No.
lots of different things that the town has to look after. As you say, the streets, the infrastructure, and all that. I don't like sitting here and saying, okay, there's so much money that's sitting there, let's spend it. I want some money left in that piggy bank. So say if the government has some money, okay, you have this much money in the piggy bank, we'll give you some more. So what I hear what you're saying, you just want us to spend, like spend it all.
Yeah. No,
And I don't
you're
agree. And
missing-
I don't agree on that part.
No, Margaret, you've totally don't understand what I just said to you. When you pass a budget in a community, and I've done 7 or 8 of them, so I'm
Okay.
pretty good on this.
Yeah.
You're promising to the taxpayer that we're going to take your money and this is how we're going to spend it. But last year, you didn't spend it. You still took my money, you still promised to spend it, but you didn't spend it. So you collected an extra $700,000 from me and the rest of the ratepayers of this community that you didn't spend and you promised you would. So that's surplus money now. It isn't a question of spending the wad, it's a question of you broke a promise. And now you've got extra money because you broke that promise. So why not use that money to fix the infrastructure you're trying to take from the accommodation fee? Because you broke that promise anyways.
Well, I don't see myself breaking the promise because, okay,
But you did, because a budget is a
I have
budget.
a lot to learn, but I mean, I don't see it breaking a promise. I didn't turn around and tell the town, okay, I took this money and I'm not going to spend it. But from what I understand, we have to have so much money in the bank because there's that La Rose Avenue. So that's one thing.
Lots of things.
There's
no, I
lots of
understand
things.
that, right?
And to run the arena, to run the hotels, we need sewer and water,
And we pay for those.
but we need to fix these things too.
Yeah, but we pay for those. But the point is, the extra
You
money that
pay for them, but you know very well that they're kind of on their last leg, and along with a lot of other municipalities in town.
But that's a budgeting issue.
That's a budget issue, but it's still dollars.
Right, it's a budgeting issue, but last year you promised to spend our tax money in a specific way, because that's what you do when you pass the financial plan. You're promising to the ratepayer, I'm going to take your money and this is how I'm going to spend it. But last year you didn't. So in essence, from an ethical perspective, and this never happens, I know that, from an ethical perspective, you should have returned the money you didn't spend of ours. Because it's our money.
Okay,
and
so
you didn't spend it.
where did you want this money to go back to? Go back to the taxpayers, or go back to,
Well,
or
if
what are you
you-
saying,
if-
like to the hotels, you want us to give that money back to you?
If you promise to spend my money on something.
No, I'm just asking you, are you talking about the accommodation tax that you collected? I'm trying to understand
Okay,
this
yeah.
too. Are you talking about the accommodation tax or the taxpayers' dollars?
The accommodation tax.
Accommodation tax.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I give that back to you, where are you
I'm
gonna-
not asking for it back.
No, but you're saying you want the taxpayer, you want it back.
No. I'm not asking for it back, Margaret. I'm saying that instead of putting it into repairing the infrastructure, let the users, the people in the community, I don't think you were here, were you here when they had the meeting and there was 80 people here who filled the room because they wanted some interest in where that money went? Well, that need is still there, right? And by fixing the rink, you're not addressing that need.
Okay, so if we don't fix the rink, or you don't fix the pool, or you don't fix all the playgrounds that are
That's a
broken,
budgeting
you're not
issue.
going to have, okay.
That's a budgeting issue. Basically, what you're saying, in your way you're saying it, is that the hotels of this community are going to pay an extra tax that nobody else pays, is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying that before, this was brought in to raise money for certain things, not, and it was for, okay, a little bit of confusion there or whatever, but, yeah, I don't see where you're saying that we are not doing,
This is,
Our
just if I could
promises.
just interject for a moment, this is not the first nominal surplus the town's
Yeah.
ever had. We've had many of them.
That's right.
And I don't recall ever once saying, well, we're going to cut a check back to everybody. I don't think that's...
Actually, Gord Bulmer suggested it.
Gord Bowman, yeah.
Gord Bulmer?
Yeah, I remember.
You remember Gord? He was the one who actually pointed it out. So he did say it before.
Yeah. So, Crystal?
Again, like I understand where you're coming from and what you're saying. I'm going to be totally honest. When I saw your letter, I was a little bit shocked because Randy and I did come in and sit down with you
Yep.
way back when and said that this was kind of the plan and this is where we were
Yep.
going and are you okay with it? And we didn't really hear anything back until now. So I don't know, maybe we should have followed up again and just been like, are you still okay with it or whatnot? Because like I said, I was a little bit shocked when it came back across our desk. But, like, I don't know, I guess I'm going to be totally blunt. Like, what do we need to do to, like, make you happy? Like, would you like to see all of it go out to the community for groups to apply for grants for different things? Like,
I would like to see it help the children and the service groups and the people who are in this town trying to make it a better place to be. That's
okay.
what I would like to see happen.
I
with it,
totally get that, but
Right?
what do you...
And this doesn't address that.
No, like, well, I mean, it does a little bit, because there is some money that's going to grants, right? That anybody in the community really can apply for. And we did give you a copy of the grant application, like, when we met in June. So,
I'm
like,
sorry,
what the criteria was and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, it was to bring visitors to town, but it was also kind of community stuff, community-based stuff. So, like, I guess my question is, like, do you want to see 100% of the tax go into, like, a grant program like that? Or, because, I mean, like you said, it's free money, and it's the only free money that we really get as a town. So, I don't know, I guess our reasoning was, we have some free money, so there's some things that we can do that isn't gonna fall on the backs of the taxpayers.
Yeah, you know, the letter that we received from the town, again, just recently, talks about the failings of the early commission or the board. Oh, yeah, the committee concept was not working as planned, therefore council decided to reallocate, right? We've talked about this so many times. The committee was designed to fail, right? It never got an honest chance to succeed. And I still think the committee is the right way to go, personally, because the committee, when the initial bylaw was set up, 50% went to the council slush fund or community enhancement fund.
Okay, don't call it a slush fund.
Well, it's
Okay, that's
whatever
fine.
it is, right?
Okay,
Whatever it is. And 50% to the destination marketing fund. Well, that 50% to destination marketing, if it was taken care of by a real committee, you know, I think it could have a remarkable positive impact in this community. Because it's still, right, the same problems exist today that they existed yesterday. There's nobody who represents tourism in this community right now. I know you're nearing the end of establishing the CDC, so hopefully something's on the horizon there. But we've still got the same problems now that we've had for quite some time. And this money has grown, and opportunities have been lost. So I still feel strongly, as I've said before many times, that the committee was the right way to go. You just had the wrong people at the committee.
Okay, so
So
again,
50-50, just like I said.
50-50,
Yeah.
so like, I think we've come a little ways, because, I mean, we've reduced the amount, I guess, that we're handing out in grants, but we actually established a process for those grants, whereas before, from what I understand, not that it was a free-for-all, but there was really no formal process, like, you know, you kind of just wrote a letter, and then the letter went to the committee, and then the committee would meet or not meet and decide whether, you know, people should get the money. And so now we've kind of come up with a more formal process, I guess, to do that. So, I mean, I guess to answer my question, you're saying you would like it to go back to the 50-50 and for the 50% to go out to the community.
That's right.
In grants.
That's right.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I
Quickly,
just had a
yeah.
quick one. We looked at that, and I think the committee process, while it can be a good process, and it's what we're working towards, again, with the 15% of the total accommodation tax, is to go back to a committee. We've set it up right now so that it's council, mayor and council, or designate. And I think the plan is to hopefully one day get a committee of some sort set up. But just the process as it wasn't working. So we've set it up as mayor and council. But I guess when we looked at the other 35% for recreational infrastructure, we seen the lists coming from KRC and the amount of work that needed to be done on our own recreational infrastructure. And it was $1 million long. And it's hard to go back to the ratepayers of the PAW and ask them for more money to be putting towards the bones of our recreation and have them keep contributing to that when we're already one of the highest tax municipalities in Manitoba, if not the highest tax. So it was kind of a nice natural fit because it's a way to get our facilities upgraded now and in the future, but we still kept a portion of the Destination Marketing Fund committee, and I guess that was our rationale behind it.
And sorry, just if I could add to that, when we put like or designated officer, like our hopes is that once the CDC is up and running and established, that they would then be the committee that looked after it, and they would have a more, I guess, more variety of members from different aspects of the community to sit on that committee and hand out the grants. But I mean, we want to do something because the money has just been sitting there, because until we get this figured out, really, we can't do anything with it. So we thought mayor and council for now, and then once the CDC is up and running and established, we could pass it over to them.
Okay, final thoughts anyway? Brian?
Yeah, I was just looking at the existing bylaw when it refers to committee, and one of the key things in that statement is that it was responsible for the establishment of the destination marketing strategy and administration. Now, strategy means they should have been structured to go out and to promote and not wait till grants come in, but just the opposite. Be proactive, go out into the community, find out who needs what can they do, and how can they bring it all together to make it happen. And I realize now, hey, that's a really important aspect of anything going forward. So the question then becomes, we've struck it from the new one, and the new one seems to be more reacting to, well, if you come and ask for money, we have a process to determine who gets the money and who doesn't. But we don't necessarily include the strategy side of the process in our plan, because it's being folded back into operations now as opposed to a committee. And that, hindsight's always 20/20, but maybe this is something we need to consider.
Herb? Anything else?
No.
Okay.
I'm so tired of talking about this, and then that's the frustrating thing, right? There are so many people, and you guys know this to be true, there are so many people who really don't care about this community. They're here, they exist, they don't really participate. You've got, and I'm just going to pick on Alan, but you've got two families in the paw who really care about this community and who've really made an effort to try to make this a better place to be, and it seems to fall on deaf ears at times. And I can't speak for him, but I know for our side, we're just frustrated with it all. We really are.
I know.
And if you look forward, right, if you think about this, because we have to project ahead a little bit. So let's just say that my scenario about minor hockey comes true, and in 5 years from now, there's 120 kids in minor hockey. That's going to have a serious impact on our lives and our business. And history has always been the sort of thing where when you look back a couple of years from now, it's the little things where if you would have went left, you would have had a different deal than if you went right. And my gut tells me this is one of those little things we're gonna look back and say, maybe we should have went left instead of right. Because it doesn't matter how pretty it is if they can't afford to use it.
I'm not going to go through itemized numbers, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that have been collected through this fee that have been dispersed throughout the community, and all for very, very good causes and good reasons. If at the end of the day it's decided that it should be a committee that looks after this, and perhaps that committee is the Community Development Corporation, then I think we should rally around that and see if that's going to work. But I think people know me for what I am. I'm not the kind of guy that looks off to the dark corner and take it out from there. It is true, minor hockey is shrinking, but I don't think it's going to disappear. I don't want to leave the impression with you that, look, we're at a point where whatever you want, we'll do. We just want to move forward. We're not there. So, we'll keep at this. This is important. So, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Cool.
And you will be hearing from us quite soon.
No sweat. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if Alan's going to come in.
Can you hold on 1 second? Let me get a new pen.
Got mine.
Wow.
Please state your name.
Hello, Alan.
To say your name and your civic address for the record, sir?
No, legal. if you
How's
want.
everyone
Oh,
tonight?
legal.
You didn't ask Herb that. Gosh.
No, that's fine.
Get him back.
Herb doesn't live in the pots. Okay.
Ouch. So I think we all want the same thing, and maybe have a little bit different way of getting there. I agree with what was brought forward as far as breaking up into different funds, and I've brought that forward to these guys, and Herb and I have talked about it before. I think my issue is more around, we just need to make sure we have some clarity. And then I'm all for fixing what we have, and I think we can do both, as well as fixing what we have as well as dealing with the minor sports organizations. My issues before with some of the granting processes, where is it going? Are we reaching too far? We're going to get this big competition to come here by throwing this money out there. And I agree with what Herd's saying. I think we need to look at what we have here and build on that. But likewise, I think the best way to help everyone out is through I guess, the three funds you've created. And if you look at what Thompson does, and you guys know of being through meetings with me, I think they seem to have a system that works relatively well. We need to have clarity. So if you look at their capital fund, they have their three reserve funds, what the monies go to, and everything they spent it on, right? We don't have any of that. And though you didn't like hearing the term slush fund, I have to agree with you. I mean,
Well, it's not a slush fund, and it shouldn't be called that. It's pretty clear
I get that.
where
but
the
it's-
money is and how it is spent and how it's collected. So
But
don't
that's,
call it a slush fund.
Jim, it's not,
Okay,
it's
no.
not clear, right? It's not clear at all. You ask it, how does, then we need to be promoting to the public, this is the money that came in from, this
I
is.
don't disagree with that, but don't call it something it's not. If you think that somehow that we're establishing a slush fund, then you should sit in that chair and speak up more often. Like, don't be pulling that, okay? I'm not interested in hearing it's a slush fund.
Okay, well, what would you like to call it?
It's an accommodation fee for
No,
community
you're not
enhancement.
understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a community enhancement fund, part of it, that money goes there, and no one knows, except for the people sitting here, where that money goes. And that's a communications problem we have as a community, right? So what I'm saying is when we set this up, we need to be very clear, like you have we've been somewhat clear with the new bylaw, 50, 35, 15, right?
Yeah.
We're on the same page still?
Yeah.
And then every 6 months or every year, here's the things we did, right? Otherwise, people keep calling it a slush fund because no one knows. And you can't argue that. You cannot argue that the money's gone in there and no one knows where it went, right? And if we're going to go backwards, you're going to say, well, I mean, he won his appeal, right? So obviously there's some truth to what's going forward. So going forward, we need to set this up right. Is that fair to say? Like, I mean, so
No,
like,
it's
just.
not even close to being fair, but
Okay,
that's
well, I
fine.
mean,
You
so
know,
what I'm saying.
we have a chief financial officer
That's-
who is as transparent as you
I'm
can
not
possibly
saying she's
get.
not. I'm
Anybody
saying
can
going
ask
forward, it's
questions
a new
anytime.
day. We want this to work. Here's somewhere it's working.
I'm not
This
gonna-
is a model we should follow. You can agree with me or not, but I mean, I want this to work. I think we all want it to work. We don't want to come here, I mean, I've got 20 minutes to my kid's recital. We don't want to be sitting here doing this anymore. Let's set it up properly.
Okay.
Right? And that's my issue. Like, we need to be very clear in here, not wishy-washy. And again, if you look at Thompson, it says 60 goes to this. Here's a one-liner, 35, 15, right?
So, Alan, sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but, so do you want it cleaned up with what we've got in there? Like,
I want how we have. I think we can make everyone happy, right? I think it needs to touch on every taxpayer, not just people in minor sports, but they need to be addressed as well.
No, but what I'm saying is, do we have to clean up the language that's in the bylaw as it sits, or are you talking about just the communicating of what?
I think the communicating and how
Yeah.
it's set up,
So that's
right?
more of a policy thing, right, that we need to deal with?
Right.
Because I agree
Jim's
with
been-
you, because if we have a community,
As we speak. Thompson.
if we have a community enhancement fund, the public should know. I
Should
agree
know
with you.
this money went into the community enhancement fund, this is what it was spent on.
I don't disagree with that.
So is that not, I mean, that's what we need to get to.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
I'm sure that you have been part of a conversation, of a discussion with council, that we are working on a communication strategy, that we are probably the most transparent council that's been elected, and yet we still want to make it more clear and have a good communication strategy, that's something that we were working on, I believe. Am I wrong? I mean, have we
What
not
is
talked
it?
about
So,
that?
we have talked about communication, but we're not here to talk about it. We're here to talk about.
Well, that's what you
accommodation
brought it up, we
plans.
need to communicate it better, we need a better communication
Yeah,
strategy. That
for
was
this
said.
policy.
So
I
we're
need to
not
set it
talking
up.
about that.
Jim, relax, right?
Okay, but you're
Well, I
just
mean, saying there's.
circling.
I'm not circling. I'm saying we need to do this. It needs to be out there that we're going to do this and it's going to get done, right? Not talk about it and then 6 months later it's not done. We need to go through that list you have. This is the money that came from the hotels and this is how it was spent. Community. End of story, right? Because this is why it failed before, right?
I don't disagree
I know you
with
don't
that.
disagree, so I don't know why you're getting so upset. Like, I mean, let's just,
Call it a slush fund, that's fine.
I don't,
I'm gonna ask
There you
him.
go.
So Alan, if you
Why I'm
just,
upset.
if you just wanted something in here, like said, right in the bylaw, every 6 months we are going to put this in the paper or whatever, is that what you're kind of getting at?
or annually.
Yeah? If
whatever's-
it's right in the bylaw saying this is what we've done, this is where the money went, would
And
that?
this is how it helped the taxpayers
Yeah,
of the
that's,
community.
yeah.
So maybe we need
But
to
if
be
it-
a little bit better at making that not available to the public, because I mean, it is available to the public, but
Oh, no, we
more
need to
in,
push
more in
out
their
press
In your
face,
face
more in
kind
their
of thing.
face. Because when we sit down and we do our financial planning, we do know what all of that money gets spent on. And people are more than welcome to come to budget stuff and ask questions and stuff, and they don't. So, I mean, I guess what we need is a way to put it out there and get it in people's faces, is what you're saying.
Likewise with the granting, I
This is-
agree if there should be, to help minor sports a different way, and here's a grant policy, and here's, you guys should be going to do this.
And they can apply too, right? Like,
Is there anything else in?
When we
New
made the
that
grant
people wanna bring forward?
application, we kind of made it with people like minor hockey and those kinds of organizations that do bring a lot of people to the community. Do bring a lot of people to the community in the back of our minds. And so, it's not geared specifically just towards them. I mean, there's 20 different ways that they would fall into the criteria of the grant application. I think there might be a little bit of conversation that needs to happen amongst you guys to kind of figure out a happy medium for what you guys will be happy with, because, I mean, we know how you feel about it. You feel strongly that 35% should go to recreation and 15% should go into the granting process, and Herb feels that the whole 50% should go out through grants. So if there was a happy medium that could be found there, because I mean, we can't write two different bylaws to make you both happy, so we need to make something that's in the middle that both of you can live with.
Okay. This is just a perfect example of government saying, okay, that's great, now here's what you're going to do with it. Oh, just mind your own business, okay? We collect the money, it's our community. People have put trust in us to do things, and we should be able to go forward and do them. So that's fine. We'll have another meeting and see if we can't get this all sorted out.
Where do you gentlemen live?
Pardon me?
Where do you gentlemen live?
What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm just wondering if they live in town or not.
Live around the corner
he's
from
a
you,
counselor
right?
for the
course.
town of the Park.
I
He
know.
lives in the Park.
Well,
Yeah.
like you're as representative of the town as we are.
Oh,
The only
okay, I get
variable
where
is
you're going.
we're elected and you're in business. One of the
I do
things
too.
I failed to mention
We all
earlier,
do.
and I noticed is there's no plan or strategy or whatever. Is there anything with regard to business that this money could be attracting or, and in terms of tourism and whatever, right? Because it's okay if it's all about the kids or the sports and whatnot, but are there other conventions, or are we just too small for any of that? Or is that something we should be talking to the appropriate groups, and whoever's promoting this, spending of this fund, needs to know that sort of information to develop a reasonable plan?
Sir. Anything else anyone wants to bring up? Thank you very much.
Can I just
Yes.
make sure I have this straight? You would like to see it 50-50 and back to the community, or the committee?
Yes, the committee, the original bylaw.
Yeah, 50-50 in the committee, and you're okay with the way it is right now? With this new one?
Yeah.
Just so it's communicated better.
Just communication,
Clear
that's
what's
not part of
going
the actual bylaw, okay?
Okay, thanks, everyone. Have a nice evening. We're closed.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You guys want
Are we turned off?